My child, there are moments in your life when silence itself is protection. Times when the truth is kept away from you, not to deceive you, but to keep your heart alive, your spirit breathing, your destiny untouched. Today, I speak to you softly because what I am about to reveal has been happening quietly, right behind the ordinary moments of your days. You have been sensing something, haven't you? A strange feeling you could not explain. Late nights when your heart felt uneasy for no clear reason. Sudden pauses in conversations. A look in someone's eyes that stayed with you longer than it should have. You told yourself you were overthinking. You tried to distract your mind. You prayed even when you did not know what words to use. And all this time you wondered why peace felt close yet never fully in your hands. My child, listen carefully now. The person you call your soulmate, the one whose presence feels familiar to your soul, has been walking a path you were never meant to see until now. They have been living a life layered with silence, discipline, and danger. While you were learning to trust again, while you were healing wounds that no one else noticed, they were being trained, tested, and prepared for a mission that goes far beyond romance or coincidence. They did not choose this path lightly. Nights when you felt them distant were nights they were holding their breath in rooms filled with tension. Days when they seemed emotionally exhausted were days they were carrying information that could ruin lives or save them. You saw a human being. I saw a guardian standing quietly between you and harm. My child, your soulmate has been working in the shadows, secretly cooperating with federal authorities. Not for fame, not for reward, but because some battles must be fought quietly and some protectors must remain unseen. You may be asking me now, why did you not tell me earlier? Because fear would have entered your heart before faith had fully grown. Because knowledge without timing becomes a burden. And because love sometimes must wear silence as armor. There were people around you who smiled easily, who spoke kindly, who shared meals and memories. But not every familiar face comes with clean intentions. I allowed you to remain unaware because innocence was your shield. While you trusted, I was watching. While you doubted yourself, I was arranging protection. Your soulmate learned to listen more than speak, to observe more than react, to love you from a distance when closeness would have put you in danger. Every time they held back words, it was not coldness, it was strategy. Every time they chose absence, it was not abandonment, it was sacrifice. My child, this mission was never random. There were threads connecting your past pain to unseen plans. Certain betrayals you never understood, certain arguments that felt unnecessary, certain separations that broke your heart without explanation. These were not accidents. They were signs of something hidden moving closer, something that needed to be exposed, but not through you. I did not want your hands dirty with battles that were not yours to fight. So I placed someone strong enough to stand where you could not. Recently, a silent operation took place. No loud headlines, no dramatic announcements, just precision, timing, and truth stepping into the light. 3 individuals were captured. 3 lives stopped in their tracks by justice they believed would never reach them. Your soulmate was there, calm, focused, unshaken, doing what they were trained to do while carrying your name silently in their heart. You do not yet know who those 3 people are. I have not spoken the names for a reason. Your heart is still adjusting to the idea that danger once walked close to you. For now, you only need to know this. One of those captured is deeply connected to your life, closer than you think. This is why I ask you to breathe slowly as you listen to me. This is why I ask you not to jump ahead in fear. The truth is heavy, but it is also freeing. And freedom never arrives without shaking what felt familiar. My child, your soulmate did not betray you by keeping this secret. They protected you by carrying it alone. They watched your laughter while knowing storms were gathering elsewhere. They memorized the sound of your voice because there were days they did not know if the mission would let them come back the same. They prayed in silence for you. They asked me to keep your dreams light and your nights peaceful even when theirs were not. And I did. There is a reason you are still standing today. A reason you were spared from certain conversations, certain meetings, certain invitations that never worked out. You called it bad timing. I call it divine intervention. You were never meant to confront darkness face to face. You were meant to remain soft, loving, and human. That softness is your power, not your weakness, and I guarded it fiercely. My child, as this story unfolds, your emotions may rise and fall. You may feel shock. You may feel anger. You may even feel guilt for not seeing the signs. But hear me clearly now. You did nothing wrong. You trusted because your heart was created to love, not to investigate. The truth is beginning to surface now because the danger has been contained, because the silence has done its work, because the chapter of secrecy is slowly closing. But this is only the beginning of the revelation. The identities of the captured will soon come into focus, and when one name is spoken, your breath may pause for a moment. Your past will rearrange itself in your memory. Things you once questioned will suddenly make sense. Do not be afraid of that moment. I will be with you when it comes. For now, rest in this truth. You were never alone. Even when you felt confused, you were never unprotected. Even when you felt exposed, you were never abandoned. And the love you share with your soulmate was tested in silence and proven strong. The shadows are thinning, my child, and what was hidden is preparing to be revealed, but not all at once, because your heart deserves gentleness. Even when the truth is powerful, the silence you felt after hearing my words was not emptiness, my child. It was your soul adjusting to truth that had already begun moving toward the light. When secrets start to loosen their grip, the heart often trembles before it understands. Let it tremble. I am holding you. There are moments when justice does not arrive with noise but with stillness. This was one of them. While the world outside continued its routines, while people laughed, argued, slept, and woke as usual, something precise and irreversible was unfolding beneath the surface. Not chaos, not revenge, but order. Quiet, unyielding order. Your soulmate stood at the center of it, not as a hero seeking recognition, but as a servant of truth. They had learned long ago that real strength does not shout. It listens. It waits. It moves only when the time is exact. For months, longer than you realize, patterns were observed. Words were recorded. Trails were followed through layers of lies so carefully woven that only patience could untangle them. Your soulmate watched people you once trusted step into rooms believing they were safe, believing they were invisible. They did not know that every step they took was already known. 3 people were captured, not randomly, not impulsively. Each one represented a door that had been quietly poisoning your life. First was driven by hunger, not the hunger for food, but the hunger to control. This person believed power meant owning outcomes, bending others to their will, shaping lives without consequence. You may remember how small you felt around them, how your voice softened, how your instincts warned you even when your mind tried to dismiss the feeling. That discomfort was not imagination. It was your spirit sensing imbalance. The second wore kindness like a costume. Smiles were easy. Promises flowed freely. But behind closed doors, deception lived comfortably. This person thrived on confusion, creating storms while pretending to offer shelter. You blamed yourself for not understanding them, for not being able to fix the distance you felt. My child, you were never meant to fix what was intentionally broken. And then there was the third. This one required the most silence. This capture was not rushed. It was waited for with breath held and heart steady because the truth attached to this person carries weight, history, familiarity, emotional roots that run deep. I have not spoken the name yet because names carry memories and memories must be handled gently. But understand this, when the moment came, your soulmate did not hesitate. They followed through not with anger but with clarity. Justice does not need rage to be firm. The operation unfolded like a whisper. Doors opened without struggle. Hands were placed calmly. Words were spoken with authority, not cruelty. The captured were confused, not because they were innocent, but because they never believed the day would arrive. People who hide behind lies often convince themselves they are untouchable. They were wrong. My child, your soulmate did not feel joy in this moment. They felt relief. Relief that the weight they had been carrying could finally be set down. Relief that you would no longer be standing unknowingly in the path of influence meant to harm you. Relief that the danger was ending without ever touching your hands. As each person was taken away, something invisible loosened around your life. The tension you could never explain. the heaviness that came and went without reason. The repeated cycles that felt like you were running but never arriving. These were not coincidences. They were echoes of influence now removed. You may notice changes soon. Conversations that suddenly make sense. Emotional fog lifting without effort. People losing interest in interfering with your peace. This is not luck. This is alignment returning. Still, your heart may ask, why did it have to be someone close? Why did it have to be hidden so deeply? Because deception survives on familiarity. Because the closest doors are the easiest to enter. And because the greatest lessons are not about fear, but about discernment. I did not want bitterness to grow in you. That is why you were spared the details. Your role was not to expose. Your role was to remain whole. Your soulmate understood this. They understood that protecting you meant letting you believe in goodness a little longer, letting you love without suspicion, letting you be human even when the world demanded caution. This mission was never about crime alone. It was about removing influences that would have slowly redirected your destiny without you ever noticing. I intervened before that could happen. The third capture will test your emotions when you learn the truth. There may be tears not only of shock but of release. You may grieve the version of reality you thought was real. Allow that grief. It does not mean weakness. It means your heart is alive. But do not rush to judgment. Do not let anger speak before understanding arrives. Remember, exposure is not punishment. It is correction. My child, you are stepping into a season where truth walks beside you instead of hiding behind you. The ground beneath your feet is stabilizing. The shadows are retreating not because you fought them but because you were protected while staying soft. Soon the name will be spoken. And when it is, you will not face it alone. I am with you. Your soulmate is with you. And the path ahead is no longer compromised. What was captured cannot return. What was hidden cannot harm you again. And the truth, though heavy at first, will set you free. There are moments, my child, when truth does not knock gently. It enters the room and the air changes. Your breath pauses, your thoughts scatter, and for a few seconds the world you knew no longer fits the shape of what has been revealed. This is one of those moments. I did not rush this part because your heart needed strength before it could hold this knowledge. Even now I speak slowly, not to delay truth, but to protect your spirit as it receives it. The name has been spoken, not shouted, not announced with drama. It arrived quietly, almost respectfully, as if the truth itself understood how deeply it would cut. And when you heard it, when you realized who the third person was, your mind refused to accept it at first. You searched your memory for reasons to deny it. You replayed conversations. You questioned your own instincts. How could it be them, you asked? They were always there. They knew me. They said they cared. My child, familiarity is not the same as loyalty. And closeness does not always mean safety. The third person was someone woven into your emotional history, someone whose words carried weight in your life, someone whose approval you once valued, whose presence felt permanent. I will not rush to define the role they played, family, friend, mentor, or love, because the pain does not come from the label. It comes from the trust. You did not imagine the confusion you felt around them. You did not invent the emotional imbalance, the subtle guilt, the strange moments when you left interactions feeling smaller than before. Those were signs your spirit noticed long before your mind was ready to accept them. This person knew you deeply and used that knowledge as access. That is why this capture required patience. That is why silence was necessary, because exposure without certainty would have shattered more than it healed. Your soulmate understood this. They gathered truth piece by piece, resisting the urge to confront, resisting the desire to protect you too early and risk everything. When the moment finally came, it was not fueled by revenge. It was fueled by clarity. Your soulmate stood firm as the evidence was presented. They did not look away when the truth was laid bare. They did not soften the facts to make it easier. Love does not distort truth. It honors it. And in that moment, something inside you may have broken. You may have felt anger rising suddenly, sharp and unfamiliar. You may have felt grief, not just for what happened, but for what you believed your relationship with that person was. You may have felt shame for trusting, for not seeing it sooner, for loving without suspicion. My child, listen to me now. You were never foolish. You were never weak. You were never blind. You were open. And openness is a sacred strength. The one who misused your trust chose deception. That choice belongs to them, not to you. You do not carry their actions as a reflection of your worth. Your soulmate never doubted you, not once. They never judged your heart for being soft. In fact, that softness is what made them fight harder to protect you. They saw what I saw, a soul worth guarding, a future worth preserving. As the reality settled, your soulmate felt something too. Not triumph, not satisfaction, but relief mixed with sorrow. Relief that the truth could no longer hide. Sorrow that the cost of revealing it would touch your heart. They would have taken the pain themselves if they could. This is why they stayed silent for so long. They were not hiding from you. They were shielding you. Now that the truth is known, the confusion that once lived inside you will slowly begin to dissolve. Moments that never made sense will realign. The emotional push and pull you felt will lose its grip. You will begin to see how carefully the pieces were arranged and how narrowly harm was avoided. There may be days ahead when memories resurface unexpectedly, when a song, a place, or a familiar phrase brings emotion rushing back. Do not fight it. Healing is not forgetting. It is understanding without pain. You are not required to forgive immediately. Forgiveness is not denial. It is release, and release comes in its own time. What matters now is that you are safe, seen, and no longer in the dark. This chapter is closing not with chaos, but with truth standing calmly in the room. Your soulmate is no longer standing between you and danger. They are standing beside you now, no longer carrying the weight alone. The silence that once separated you is transforming into understanding. Trust will not return overnight, but it will return stronger, wiser, and rooted in reality. My child, you have crossed the threshold. Once truth is known, it cannot be undone, but it can be healed. And I am not finished with your restoration. What was exposed was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to free you. After truth is revealed, there is always a quiet space that follows. A space where the heart asks questions the mind cannot answer yet. A space where you begin to wonder not just what happened, but why. Why this path was chosen. Why your soulmate had to carry such weight. Why love and danger had to exist so close together. I did not choose this mission lightly. I do nothing without purpose, and I do not place burdens on souls without also giving them the strength to carry them. Your soulmate was prepared long before you ever met them. Their life shaped them for this exact moment. Even when they did not understand why certain hardships followed them so closely, they learned discipline early, often through loneliness. They learned to listen instead of reacting, to observe instead of rushing. They experienced betrayal, disappointment, and loss, not because they were meant to suffer endlessly, but because they were being taught how to stand firm when emotions threatened clarity. What once felt like unnecessary pain was training for protection. You saw their quiet nature and sometimes mistook it for distance. You noticed their caution and wondered why they did not open up easily. But my child, I was building a guardian, not just a partner. Someone who could love deeply without being reckless. Someone who could choose duty without losing compassion. When the mission began, your soulmate did not celebrate. They prayed. They asked me if they were strong enough, if they would be able to keep you safe without losing you emotionally. They feared that silence might hurt you. Yet, they feared even more that knowledge might endanger you. This inner battle was heavier than any external threat. They watched you grow, heal, hope, and dream while holding information that could have shattered your peace. Every time they smiled with you, part of them was carrying responsibility you never asked for. That is not deception. That is sacrifice. My child, understand this. I did not assign your soulmate to this mission because they were fearless. I chose them because they were faithful, faithful to truth, faithful to discipline, faithful to love that does not demand applause. This mission was not about capturing criminals alone. It was about protecting a future that could not survive under hidden influence. There were paths forming around you that would have led to confusion, emotional drain, and repeated cycles of pain. You felt these cycles but did not know their source. I allowed you to sense them but not to confront them. Your soulmate confronted them for you. Every time they held their composure while chaos surrounded them, they were thinking of you. Every decision they made was filtered through one prayer. Let them remain untouched. And you did. Your heart stayed soft. Your capacity to love remained intact. Now, as the mission closes, you may see your soulmate differently. Not as someone distant, but as someone who stood in the fire while keeping their hands clean. You may realize that the love you share was tested not by betrayal, but by restraint. Restraint is one of the highest forms of love. There may be moments when resentment tries to surface. Questions like, "Why couldn't you tell me?" Let those thoughts pass without judgment. Healing does not come from suppressing emotion, but from understanding context. Silence was not chosen because you were weak, but because you were precious. Your soulmate is stepping out of that role. Now, the protector who worked in shadows is returning to the light. They are learning how to be fully present again without carrying the weight of constant vigilance. This transition is delicate. Be gentle with each other. Rebuilding closeness after secrecy requires patience, not pressure. I am asking you now to release the idea that love must always be transparent in the same way. Some love protects by revealing everything. Some love protects by holding back until the right time. Both are love when guided by wisdom. This season is about redefining what safety feels like for you. Not just physical safety, but emotional security. You no longer have to question your instincts so harshly. They were never wrong. They were simply incomplete without truth. My child, the purpose behind this mission was not to make you suspicious of the world. It was to teach you discernment without losing tenderness. You can be aware and still be open. You can be cautious and still love deeply. Your soulmate will need space to release what they carried. You will need space to integrate what you learned. Walk this path together slowly. Let conversations unfold naturally. Let trust rebuild with honesty, not urgency. I am restoring balance now. The danger has passed, but the lesson remains. You are protected not because you were fragile, but because your future holds more light than you realize. What comes next is not fear. It is understanding. And understanding will lead you back to peace. Now we arrive at the place where the storm no longer speaks, where the air feels lighter, and where your heart begins to remember what calm truly is. This is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of a life no longer shaped by hidden threats or unspoken fears. The chapter of secrecy is closed. What once moved quietly around you has been removed. What once influenced your emotions without your permission has lost its power. You may not feel the change all at once, but you will notice it in simple ways. Your sleep will deepen. Your thoughts will slow down. Your heart will no longer feel like it is always bracing for something unknown. That is how freedom arrives softly. Your soulmate stands before you now without shadows behind them. The role they carried in silence has been laid down. The vigilance that once lived in their body is easing. They are learning how to breathe again without listening for danger. This transition will take time, but it is filled with relief. So is yours. You are no longer unknowingly standing in the path of manipulation or influence meant to derail your destiny. The people who were captured cannot reach you again emotionally, spiritually, or physically. Their access has ended. Their chapter in your life is sealed. I want you to understand something deeply, my child. What was removed was not just people. It was distortion, a slow erosion of peace that would have continued unnoticed if not stopped. You were protected before the damage became permanent. Now restoration begins. You may feel moments of unexpected gratitude. Gratitude not just for safety, but for clarity. For finally understanding why certain doors never opened, why certain connections always felt strained, why certain joy felt delayed. Nothing was denied to punish you. It was delayed to protect you. Your future is intact. The love you share with your soulmate now has room to grow without fear. No more coded conversations. No more emotional distance created by duty. What remains is something quieter, stronger, and more honest than before. Love that has survived restraint carries a depth few ever experience. Do not rush this new season. Let trust rebuild gently. Let conversations come naturally. There is no need to interrogate the past endlessly. The truth you needed has already been revealed. Now is the time to live forward. I am placing peace back into your hands. You may notice that people treat you differently soon. Some will feel drawn to your calm. Others will drift away because they no longer recognize the version of you that was easier to influence. Let them go without resentment. Growth always rearranges relationships. You are not becoming harder, you are becoming clearer. My child, the pain you survived did not make you smaller. It refined you. You now carry wisdom without bitterness, awareness without fear, and love without illusion. That balance is rare and it will guide you well. Your soulmate was chosen not only to protect you, but to walk with you into this restored future. What you build together from this point forward will not be shaped by secrecy, but by shared truth. You are safe to dream again, safe to plan, safe to hope without constantly checking for danger. I bless your nights with rest. I bless your mind with quiet. I bless your heart with steady love. From this day forward, what approaches you must come in honesty. What stays with you must respect your peace. And what is not aligned with your destiny will no longer find access to you. The chapter that frightened you is over. The lesson has been learned. The protection has done its work. Now live, my child, not guarded, not afraid, but awake and free. You are no longer surrounded by hidden danger. You are surrounded by purpose. My child, come closer and listen slowly, because this part is not about fear, not about danger, not about what was taken away. This part is about what is being rebuilt inside you now, piece by piece, breath by breath, with a gentleness you have not felt in a long time. After truth settles, there is a sacred quiet. Not the silence of secrecy, but the silence of safety. You may notice it when you wake up and your chest feels lighter. You may notice it when your phone is silent, and for once your heart does not rush to imagine the worst. You may notice it when you sit alone and do not feel lonely. That is me restoring you. For a long time, you lived with invisible pressure. You carried emotions that were not entirely yours. You questioned your instincts. You doubted your reactions. You wondered why happiness felt fragile, as if it could disappear at any moment. You blamed yourself for being too sensitive, too emotional, or too cautious. My child, you were none of those things. You were responding to an environment that was not clean. And now that environment has changed. The removal of danger does not just create relief. It creates space, and space can feel strange at first. When you have lived in survival mode for too long, peace can feel unfamiliar. You may even catch yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop. That is normal, and it will pass. Your nervous system is learning that it no longer has to stay alert. Your soul is learning that it does not have to guard every doorway. Healing does not rush. It teaches gently. Your soulmate is healing too. They carried responsibility that was never meant to be permanent. They trained their emotions to stay controlled. They learned how to separate love from reaction, fear from action. Now they are learning something new, how to rest without guilt. You may see them soften. You may notice emotions surface that they once kept hidden. Do not be afraid of that. Those emotions were never weakness. They were postponed. Now they are safe to return. This phase between you is delicate but sacred. It is not about explanations anymore. It is about presence, sitting together without needing to fix anything, sharing space without strategy, loving without watching the door. I am teaching both of you how to be human again together. My child, I want you to understand something important. What happened was not just protection, it was preparation. You are entering a season where your influence will increase. Your words will matter more. Your presence will affect others more deeply. People will come to you for comfort, guidance, or inspiration, even without knowing why. If the hidden influences had remained, they would have distorted that calling. That is why I intervened early. You are not meant to live small. You are not meant to live confused. You are not meant to live constantly recovering from emotional damage you did not cause. You are meant to live clear from now on. Discernment will feel different. You will not have to overthink people. Your body will respond calmly instead of urgently. When something is not right, you will know without panic. When something is safe, you will feel it without needing proof. That is wisdom replacing fear. Some relationships will fall away quietly, not because of drama, but because they can no longer attach themselves to the old version of you. Let them go without explanation. You owe no one access to your healed space. Others will surprise you. People you did not expect will step forward with sincerity. They will respect your boundaries naturally. They will not demand pieces of you. They will appreciate your wholeness. This is alignment. My child, you may still feel waves of emotion from time to time. Grief for what could have been, sadness for the innocence you lost, anger toward the one who betrayed trust so deeply. Do not judge these feelings. Healing is not linear. It is layered. Each layer you feel and release brings you closer to peace that does not depend on circumstances. I am not asking you to forget. I am asking you to stop carrying what no longer belongs to you. The story that once defined you is no longer the story shaping you. From this point forward, your life will feel more intentional. Decisions will come easier. You will stop apologizing for needing rest. You will stop forcing connections that drain you. You will choose depth over noise, truth over approval. Your soulmate will walk beside you, not in front of you, not behind you, equal, present, honest. The love between you will not be dramatic. It will be steady, and steady love builds futures. I am placing a new kind of confidence in you now. Not loud confidence, not ego, but quiet certainty. The kind that does not need to prove itself. The kind that knows when to stay, when to walk away, and when to trust. This confidence will protect you more than fear ever could. You may notice that your prayers change. They will no longer sound desperate. They will sound grateful. You will ask less out of fear and more out of alignment. You will stop begging for clarity because clarity will begin to walk with you. That is spiritual maturity. My child, look at how far you have come without knowing why you were being guided so carefully. Look at how much you survived without becoming bitter. Look at how your heart stayed open even when it would have been easier to close. That is why I trusted you with this destiny. The chapter ahead is not about recovery. It is about creation. You will create peace where there was tension. You will create honesty where there was confusion. You will create love where there was fear. And you will do it without forcing anything. I am blessing your steps now. I am blessing your home with calm energy. I am blessing your relationship with safety and truth. No hidden enemy remains. No unseen influence is left. No unfinished chapter has power over you. You are standing in clean ground now. Walk forward, my child, not looking back in suspicion, not rushing ahead in anxiety, but grounded, aware, and free. What was meant to stop you has been removed. What was meant to teach you has been completed. And what is meant to grow through you is just beginning. I am with you in this new life. And this time you will feel it without fear, without doubt, without needing proof. This is your peace. This part is deeper, not louder, not dramatic, but deeper. Because after protection, after truth, after healing, there comes a moment when the soul finally settles into itself. This is that moment, and it is sacred. You may not realize it yet, but something inside you has stopped fighting. The constant inner dialogue, the silent questioning, the need to stay alert even during peaceful moments. Those patterns are loosening, not because you force them to stop, but because they no longer have a reason to exist. For a long time, your spirit lived in preparation mode. Even when things were calm, you were ready for disturbance. Even when love felt good, you waited for the shift. This was not weakness. It was conditioning. And now that conditioning is being undone, slowly, kindly. I am teaching your soul how to receive instead of brace. You may notice moments where happiness arrives, and for the first time you do not shrink it. You do not question it. You let it stay. That is growth. You may notice that when problems arise, they feel smaller. Not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer facing them alone from the inside. Your inner world has changed. This is important, my child, because your outer life always follows your inner environment. When your inner world was tense, life mirrored that tension. When confusion lived inside, clarity struggled to arrive. Now that peace is taking root internally, life will begin to respond differently to you. Opportunities will feel calmer. Decisions will feel clearer. People will sense your stability. Not everyone will be comfortable with this version of you. Some people benefited from your confusion. Some grew powerful when you doubted yourself. Some felt secure when you over-explained, overgave, or over-accommodated. As you settle into your true center, those dynamics will shift. Do not fear that shift. It is not loss. It is alignment. You are no longer meant to prove your goodness. You are no longer meant to earn safety. You are no longer meant to explain your boundaries as if they are crimes. Your presence alone now sets the tone.